Shooting it raw?
Yes. Shooting it raw.
For me, it's a vision. It's like Alice in Wonderland, right? You use your imagination and you just open up the doors of wonder. You just never know what's going to process when you take that picture, right? Uh, Sometimes there's more yellow, more green, more blue. You think you're taking a picture of grass, and then sometimes there's that little caterpillar that's in the grass. So you just never know. It's that amazing wonder of what's going to process and what's going to come out from that picture.
Elizabeth Gagnon. Nice. So the big question is, what should I call you? Elizabeth, Liz, Jennifer? Like, what should I call you?
You can call me anything, but not late for dinner.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Whatever you're comfortable calling me.
Great. Okay. Well, I've seen just little, I don't know who you are. I don't know how, we're just crossing the paths a little bit, and you were very good to respond. Like, I'm Mr. Friendly, so I'm just like, hey, do you want to be on the podcast? And you're like, okay, sure. And I was like, okay, let's do this. Boom, here we are. So Shooting It Raw, I don't know if you've seen what it's about. Basically, we're going to kind of look at the question of, what if life really is a gift? How do we make every second count? The repeating themes, some of them are creative expression, some of them are service leadership, some of them are conservation, one of them is strong women. I figure you fit in there pretty well. We'll see, we'll discover, we'll see what's going on. Thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, not a problem. I actually caught a few of your episodes and I was just like, oh, this is something like I like to do. The nice flow, the nice authentic conversation, open discussion, no pre-questions. It's just, let's just spill the tea, right? And that's what I do, is I spill tea. So, and that's what you do. Spill the tea.
Okay, I have a feeling. Okay, spill the tea. Okay. Now, okay, so just so that people understand, okay, I'm seeing you now. You're in your room. It says sharing is it healing? What is this behind you? Yeah, sharing is healing. There's a lot of kind of artwork on the shelves. Given a little bit by your accent, you sound, I already know that you're Canadian a little bit. Gagnon, quand même. Gagnon is a little bit, a little tell.
But Gagnon is my ex-married name. I just kept it because it was the last name of my children. So, but my maiden name is Hooper. I'm a Hooper. So, Sesame Street, Mr. Hooper, he's my uncle.
Yep.
So.
Oh, okay. Nice. Nice. So where in Canada are you?
I'm in Cornwall, Ontario.
Cornwall, Ontario. Sorry, I didn't mean to suggest that you're from Quebec. I'm very, very sorry.
Well, I'm not very far. I'm only an hour from Montreal. So.
Yeah. Nice. I've biked through Cornwall. I know Cornwall very, very well. Okay, well, it's what happens is when people send me the photos, I never look at them beforehand. So it's always a bit of a surprise. So the first one I have, okay, I'll describe it. Okay, so it's a graphic. So at the top, in overlaid over plum, let's say plum. It looks almost like a Polaroid kind of graphic. It's a photo of you, beautiful hair, very nice glasses. It says Miss Liz, founder, creator of Miss Liz's TEA, okay? And then next to that is an image, it says be a change maker. Oh, Liz, this is going to be great. Okay, your name, your country, and your TEA message. And then underneath that it says Tea Ambassadors. Become a voice for tea or TEA in your country with Miss Liz. Let's create a change for humanity, one country and voice at a time. Okay, what is going on here?
Well, you're actually sitting with the former peace ambassador for Canada. So what we've done is the project has closed, and what I'm doing is I'm taking my tea and I'm creating almost like a twin of what the peace project was doing. And I'm bringing the T. And for anybody that's listening, the T stands for teaching educational awareness. So we teach from our
Oh,
past, we educate in the present, and we're aware that our futures can all change in the future or any given time. So we serve different kind of tea. We don't serve a beverage. We serve your story, your life, and your work.
okay. My head is okay. It's morning in Hong Kong. I'm 12 hours ahead of you.
And it's nighttime here.
Yeah, exactly. You just dropped these crazy ass bombs. Peace ambassador.
Well, a peace ambassador is just somebody that wants peace in the world, right? So we promote peace. We promote unity, connection, collaboration, joining. You know, take the negative away and bring in some positive. And we get to meet people from different countries and that. And we just do the peace.
That is amazing. Okay, so clearly we're falling in the same section of the library because, yeah, meeting different people and sharing goodness, kind of like the thing of the podcast. Okay, okay, so who are you? Where did this come from?
I'm just an everyday woman that wants to make a difference with tea. And when you say tea, people think beverage right away, right? So their mind goes
Mm,
to the
mm,
beverage. And I'm just like, okay, I got you hooked. Go get your glass of tea.
mm.
But then when you come and you sit, you actually share your story, your work, your, and that's why I really wanted to reach out to you, Ram, is because what you do is exactly what I do, but you do it in a different
Yeah,
way. You bring a different flavor, a different blend. And that's just like tea. We all have different flavors and blends. So I like to sit with different teas, but I like to go and reverse the table once in a while. So that's why I jump on other people's podcasts and I'm like, hello, let's serve tea together.
yes, yes. How did you land in that? I mean, Cornwall is not well known for being the epicenter of the United Nations. So,
Well, Ram, I'm originally from Hearst, Ontario, so I'm a northern girl. I come from up north where it's cold, minus 50, right? I only moved to
yeah.
Cornwall in 2014. So this is a newbie for me, right? And I eventually started Miss Liz's Tea Parties in 2015, where we were doing community events. But then
Oh,
good old
wow.
COVID came along and everybody got locked down. So what I did is I brought my community events to the virtual lands and I just serve the same thing. We just don't have the cakes and cookies and all of that good
Right.
stuff, but we serve the same way.
Okay, so how do you meet people? Why don't you describe a little bit the world of what happens when you sit with people? You know, and again, T is teaching educational awareness. Okay, so grassroots support, right, for one another. Where did that come from? Like, if we go back if we look at your biography as we're sitting down to write it, like, when did that start?
Well, Miss Liz's Tea Party started in 2015 in my home. I had a tea party with a bunch of women, and then I brought it into the community. One of my guests that was at my house said, "Can you do this in the community?" And I was like, "I don't know. Let's try it. You know, if you don't try,
Mm,
you don't know." So I did that for a while, and then COVID came, and we went virtual. But at my tea parties, we had guest speakers. So when
mm-hmm,
you go to virtual land, you have a speaker, you have a guest that comes to your place, and you sit and you have a conversation. So it's just like going to grandma's house and spilling the beans, right? And saying, "Grandma, this
mm,
is what I'm doing. All of the goodness. I celebrated. I graduated. I got this win." You know, so you're coming to my house and you're just serving a different win to a different person.
mm-hmm.
But the guests, they find me. I do not look for that. There's a couple guests that I've reached out to, but most of my guests find me. They're all like,
Mm.
what you're doing is different and we want it. And, you know, people just miss grandma's cooking. And you go to grandma's house, you get tea, you get cookies, you get a good meal, right? So that's all I do is I just give you that.
Okay, so I grew up in Montreal. Well, okay,
Mm-hmm.
so born in Jerusalem in the desert. Parents moved to Montreal when I was one, as a baby.
Ooh.
So, you know, when you say it's minus 50, I go, okay, Montreal gets down to minus 40, sometimes minus 50. So I hear you. Hearst. How far north is Hearst?
It's about 14 hours from Montreal.
Okay.
Going up towards, a lot of people know North Bay, Timmins,
Yeah,
Cochrane, Kapuskasing. Well, Hearst is 1 hour from Kapuskasing, 3 hours
right.
from Timmins, 6 hours from North Bay. So it's way up there. It's just a little town.
Okay, so let's go back to your. You say you've met people from around the world who kind of. Now we're talking. You're talking to a Montrealer living in Hong Kong. You know, it is like the Chinatown that is as far away as you can get to. So, describe some of the guests that you've had.
Oh, I've had different guests. I've had all walks of life on my tea time. I've had people who have been homeless, people who are producers and directors for Hollywood. I've had a lot of different flavors, a lot of authors, a lot of storytellers, peace ambassadors, of course, in season one. I'm going to be going into season 5 in January. So,
Oh wow, nice,
yeah, at the end of the year, I'll have 328 tea times and
amazing.
67 different countries. So I've been to
Oh
Ukraine.
wow,
Ukraine was my first show this year in season 4. And we actually had 3 survivors from Ukraine that actually came on and
wow.
spoke. So
That is bonkers. Okay, for people who are listening, the link is going to be in the show notes. What's the link?
you can check out Miss Liz on my website, www.misslizsteatimes.com, or you can check out my YouTube channel, Miss Liz's Tea Time. You just check out Miss Liz Tea Time. I'm all over.
Miss Liz Tea Time. Miss Liz Tea Time. Say it again. Miss Liz
Miss
Tea
Liz Tea
Time.
Time.
Love it. Okay. As a kid, are you the youngest, the middle, the eldest?
I'm the oldest.
You're the oldest. Okay. Why don't we talk about what it is inside you that makes you kind of bring people together? Why,
Uh,
what
oh my
drives that?
goodness. Good question.
Finally,
Yeah.
I'm just warming up. I'm just warming
No, that's a good question because a lot of people ask me that question. What makes me do what I do? I come from a very abusive family, a very dysfunctional family, and I guess I never got that, so I want to give that to the world. I want to give the opposite
Mm,
of what I was given. Um, and I'm just that rebel that my family's just like, you're the black sheep, you can't do anything, and here I am. I'm showing everybody I can. They're not going to
mm,
define who I am. So I'm more of a change maker for, don't let your family, don't let your friends or your coworkers or anybody tell you what you can't be or what you know, don't let them define you. Define yourself. And that's why I do what I do. But I mean, I never got that. I never got the peace. It was always trauma. It was always commotion and dysfunction. So I want peace in my life.
So one of the in my history, I worked for the Ontario Human Rights Commission, and then I also worked for the I think Canadian Human Rights Foundation. And then we would often have delegates come to conferences, and then them look at Canada and say, "Come on, you're Canadian. What kind of human rights problems are there here? What kind? I can see your face. I can see your face." You know, they'd be like, "But of course, it's kind of like because in there on the externally." You know, if you're comparing it to say Cambodia or Sudan or something, some people are going to be like, "Whoa, you know, that's the easy to spot, right?" So why don't you reveal a little bit? I mean, if you like, because for example, like when you're bringing peace, talking about peace, how does that, like, what color, what shape, how does that form in your head?
Oh.
Sometimes my questions make no sense, by the way. You
No,
just have to
no,
make your
no,
best.
no. Because I'm a visionary, right? So when you say certain words, I'm kind of like colors and flows, and I don't want to say a rainbow because I'm really frustrated with a rainbow lately. Um, Almost like a marble
Hmm.
countertop. You know how it flows, and it just kind of, it's like the tea. It flows. The water flows. And like you said, Rem, I didn't realize that we had so much in common because I worked with 3 guys from India as the International Human Rights Commission and Federation secretary for in 2020, and there's just so much that, you know, the
Right,
universe,
yeah,
I
that's what I
kind of think,
mean.
kind of just pulled us together. Like I'm just like, what, really? But it's
Oh
true when
man.
you talk about Canada, a lot of people will say, well, it's the most peaceful country in the world. And I tell this to everybody. Everybody's like, oh, I want to come to Canada, especially when I was a peace ambassador. A lot of my peace ambassadors that were in different countries like Pakistan, India, um, Africa, they were all like, "Oh, I want to come to Canada." I'm like, you don't, because we're selling a false dream to everybody. You know,
Okay.
there we have our own issues here. We have our own political issues that need to be fixed, and they're coming in and they're giving them this freebie. But then after a couple of years, they're saying, "Well, you figure it out now."
Yeah. And it's a hard place to live.
It is. It's really hard. And, we really got to start just bringing the truth to the table.
Mm.
Canada has its issues just like the next country. But when I look at countries, I don't like to compare countries, because when I look at countries, I see one big world. We're all united. We're all brothers and sisters. Like, I look at my male and female as brothers and sisters, as
Hmm.
a united family. We need to start uniting, because when we compare and we divide, we're actually causing corruption, because we're saying, well, no, our country's better, this country's better, that, and then we start getting all of this division, and I don't like it. I'm just like, no, come and have a cup of tea and let's settle down, and grab a cookie,
Mm.
stay a while, but let's stop with the division. There's so much of it, but we need to start bringing the truth to the table, Ram, because a lot of people,
Okay.
Canada, they say, it's a good country. I'm a Canadian. I've been born and raised in
Yeah.
Canada. So I see how much Canada has changed. 20 years ago, people said we had issues. We have issues now. 20 years ago, we were more united. We were more connected. And that's what I do with my work, is I'm trying to bring back that barter and trade. You bring me the sugar, I bring you the flour, and let's bake a cake. You know, let's stop with that. You borrowed my sugar last week. You need to pay it back tomorrow. Like, like,
You're funny. You're funny.
but that's just the way I look at it.
Life is breakfast. Should we go on to the next question? No, sorry.
Sure,
Next
go
question.
ahead.
The next photo.
So yeah, I think peace looks like a marble table for me. Like, I know people out there might be thinking Miss Liz is weird, but you know what? A marble table makes good donuts and makes good pastry because it's cold, and you
You
have
are
to
so
heat it up,
funny.
right?
It makes
I
good
just see things
donuts.
differently. I'm just like
I
this.
love it. So this is a screenshot. Maybe the previous was a screenshot as well. There's also a screenshot. It says the story of tea. And there are three kind of books, they're illustrations, but they look kind of, one says, I can't see. The T equals tasting. E equals teaching, right there. So proper books. Wicked. Okay. Right.
Yes.
T equals teaching. Yes, of course. Okay, so take it away. Like, yeah, let's celebrate, the story of tea. Like, this is great.
Well, tea, it was the story of Miss Liz going through Alice in Wonderland, going through hoops and slides and twists and turns. So the tea is teaching from my past, but I also shared
Mm.
my story of abuse, and how us as survivors of abuse, we don't need to stay victimized for life. We
Mm-hmm.
can change it. We can write books, and that's what I did, is I shared my story. But I also wanted to educate people with words, because words teach. We can teach kids by saying, "What is your T?" When I say
Mm.
"What is your T?" I'm looking for a word that starts with the TEA. So teaching,
Right.
education, awareness, transformation, empowerment, action, trauma, example, attitude. Let's start using words to describe. But these are different teas. This is how we
Yeah,
serve
yeah.
our teas. Some days we put sugar in our tea, some days we put milk, but now we put words, and we use
Mm-hmm.
words that we can actually use in schools and services and all of that, to transform them to speak. Some children will be afraid to speak because of trauma, and they can use that word and say, terrified. Okay, you're terrified of what? What
Ah.
what happened? You know what I mean? So we're not using big sentences, we're using one word. Okay, this kid is
Mm-hmm.
giving me terrified. What is this kid afraid of? What is this adult afraid of? Because it's for all ages. My T is from the age of 15 to the age of 91, or 99. So,
Wait, so that's that. Okay, so only because we're meeting, and I'm just wrapping my head around who you are and how you spend your time, because that's the essence of my podcast, is like, how do you make every second count? And I love the fact that behind you is this sharing is healing. This little thing that says sharing is healing. And sure enough, as humans, as people, how we exchange and learn from one another is through the medium of words, right? So it's almost like a therapeutic education impulse. So how did that happen?
It happened when I was 4 years old. That was also the year that I lost my innocence as a child. But my great grandmother, who's back there on that sharing is healing, my Oma from Germany, she gave me a cup of tea and she gave me these words that I didn't understand because I was a little kid. She said, I want you to sit, reflect, recharge, and release. And I was like, I don't know what the heck she means, you know? But at that time, she was actually serving me a tea of life.
Mm-hmm.
And she kept telling me, Liz, your tea, Liz, your tea. And I was like, okay. Well, she called me Miss Liz. That's where Miss Liz comes from my Oma, because she always called me Miss Liz. And as I got older, she kept saying, Miss Liz, your tea. And I was like, oh, I don't know what she means by tea. Does she want a cup of tea? You know? But then I realized when I went through all of my stuff, I was like, okay, oh, Oma's telling me to serve tea to everybody, what she served me at
Okay.
4. But at 4, I didn't know what the heck those words meant. And that's what we do, right? Is we sit, we recharge, we reflect, and we release in all of our life stories. No matter who you are, right? You have to do those things. We all reflect on
Mm.
our lives. We could have made better choices, married somebody better, dated somebody better, had one kid instead of 10 kids, those things that we reflect on and charge on. But I just now I realize that my Oma is always saying, Liz, get the stories out, get the
Right.
teas out, get awareness out there, and use it by being friendly, by being what Oma was to you at 4. Oma gave you a cup of tea, so give them a cup of tea, and that's where it came from.
So, like, my part of my background is also writing and communication, and so I have a real attention and sensitivity to language, right? So, how people speak, how people write, what weaves into their speech. I'm always aware of, okay, what's kind of going on in the background there. So, you are a writer, and for some people, the therapy of writing is about kind of putting down into a concrete form the kind of the swirl of ideas. So, what is the role of story? Story, not only not a story, but just the role of story as an idea of the narrative. How does that scratch an itch or solve a problem or do something for you? Because in effect, when you're sitting near somebody and you're saying, okay, describe to me your tea, is you're telling them, tell me a story about what's at the core of who you are.
Well, the core for me is the flavor. What flavor am I going to get today? What flavor am I going to serve today? What mood am I going to wake up with, right? Because it depends on our attitude. We have to be the example. So we take the T, we move it backwards. We start taking the A-E-T, and we just go backwards. We reverse it. And it's life. Life is balance, right? The yin and yang. We need the good and the bad. And in order to write, to release, you need to have those bad emotions inside. We all have them. We all have things that frustrate us and that. And by writing, we're just spilling. That's where we're spilling tea. We're spilling the story. And sometimes just writing and just putting it out there. Don't fix it. Don't edit it. Don't stop being so perfection. We all have scars. We all have bumps and roadblocks that have stopped us from doing something, or not at this time. We'll do it next year instead of this year. And that's all I do is I just release. I just write. And sometimes what I write doesn't make sense. And I'll have people say, Miss Liz, oh my God, you confuse me. I'm all over. I'm like, good. Because confusion is good, because that means
Okay.
that you've actually taken the time to say, I'm trying to figure this out, but I can't.
I love that. So one of the things that I have said to people now and then, most of my life, is I reserve the right to be contradictory. I reserve the right to not make sense. And in a way, that impulse that you're saying is like, it doesn't have to make sense. You don't have to be, it might be confusing. It's good to be in that sense of confusion. I don't want to put words in your mouth, But that to me sounds quite familiar because it's this idea of like, there's this huge, massive complexity that is reality. And as our brains want to put in a box and contain it. And you're like, well, no, live with the uncertainty and the confusion. Yeah. Imagine there was a question in there. How would you answer that?
Right? I don't know, dot to dot. I used to like those growing up. And that's how I kind of look at my life, right? Is, oh, I got this person today. I got this person tomorrow. How did
Nice.
I get over there? Like, how do I connect the dots? So like when I do my podcast, Ram, the 3 guests are booked at different times, but every week they seem to align. They seem to connect.
Oh,
and I'm like,
3 guests at
how
once.
does this happen? Yeah, I do 3 shows on Thursday. Monday, I do it in the morning, the afternoon, and evening. And
Oh, wow.
they all align. Like this year is my biggest year. My first year I started off, it was more just for my mental health. I just wanted people to talk to like everybody else when we all got locked up. And then I was like, whoa. I got something here. I'm a peace ambassador. I'm working with 60 other different countries. Hey, let's go global. Let's start having global tea. Let's start, what's happening in your country? What's happening in your country? How do you serve tea? How do you make tea? And my God, there's so many different ways of making tea. I'm like, what? Really? You guys do that? Like, people put butter in their tea, and I'm like, what? Really?
Okay.
I love butter, but
you're
I'm
confusing me because now you're talking about real tea, whereas I was thinking about teaching.
Right? There's the confusion.
Well done. Well played, young Jedi. Well played.
You asked me how I would answer it. I brought more
it.
confusion.
I love it. More confusion. Shall we go on to the next photo?
Sure, go ahead.
This is great. Okay, so this is another graphic. It says TEAT with Miss Liz. It's basically a square or kind of, it's basically a square format. It almost looks like polka dot. Well, there's the plum, so you have a good sense of branding. You have your branding colors, which you've got like a slight beige, with you've got the plum, you've got the white in the middle. It says tea time with Miss Liz. Yeah, very nice. Yeah, very nice graphic. This is making a difference. Oh man, teaching educational awareness, making a difference. Yeah, take it away. This is great.
I'm trying to remember what pictures I sent you. But the pictures all of the branding colors are my branding colors, and they're all tea. So if you serve berry tea, you got the purple. So you got all the different berries. The beige is the brown teas, the caramels, and breakfast tea, all that good stuff. And then the green, olive green, is for the green teas. So I bring you back into the beverage. See, I love the confusion. I love to confuse people, but I like to bring them back to the tea, because when people drink tea, they slow down.
Right.
You don't see somebody drinking it fast. They
so how you
down.
feel about espresso? How do you feel about espresso?
No, I don't do
Is it too fast? It's too strong. It's too fast. What the fuck, man? No, get that shit out of my face.
I'm the slow girl. I like to come in slow. I'm that turtle. Other people are the rabbit. I'm the turtle. I like to come into the race slow.
Let's talk about the podcast. They can reach it through their website. What's the name of the podcast?
It's Tea Time with Miss Liz.
Okay,
it's
nice.
Very simple. I keep it very simple, right? When it's like going to grandma's house, you don't say, "Oh, I'm going to I'm going to grandma's house. I'm going to Mama's house. I'm going, grandmama,
Okay, so what are the languages that you speak?
I speak French, English, a little bit of Cree. Not very much Cree. I know a lot of swear words in Cree. Of course, we always learn the bad words in another language first, right? So,
so what? Sorry, what else?
No,
my problem is
ahead.
I interrupt. I'm constantly interrupting.
No, that's okay. The confusion. I love it.
There's no confusion. It's more love. It's great. Okay, so English and French and Cree. Why don't we open that door a little bit to share with people? So I'm in Hong Kong, and the idea of First Nations, the idea of that whole experience, that whole mental model. Explain to me like I'm an idiot because we're starting at that level where I don't know nothing. Okay, what is the role, let's say, of the Cree language in your head, in your headspace?
For me, it's shapes. When I learned Cree in public school, because up north we had Cree, they had a Cree class because we had a lot of the indigenous people that were in our schools. We were not far from the reserve, so the reserve children would come to the public school. When I first learned Cree, it was like triangles and circles and dots, and I was like, what is this? Some kind of code or something? Like, what's going on here? And then my dad got into a relationship with an indigenous woman, and she taught us how to speak Cree. Well, she taught us like how to say mujum. So if you say mujum, that's money, because he always wanted money. She used to tell my dad, just tell him mujum, like, you know. Then I speak a little bit of German because my Oma taught me. So Golsi Mama is German, is grandma. But I lost a lot of my language. I lost a lot of my French as well after my divorce. You know, I was by myself, so there was no French people around me anymore. My in-laws were away from me. And my mom was French, but she only spoke French to us when she wanted something that my dad didn't know about because my dad was English. So he would say, oh, there she goes with that language again. She's up to something, that woman. So
Right. So when you have your shows and you have your conversations, and it's about it's about peace and about spreading and teaching. Okay, what is your role? Are you a host? Do you kind of just try to get it out of the way? Like, what is your role within that conversation?
Well, for Tea Time, it's a 1 hour show. It's a live show. I like to do live because I like the authenticity. I like that if there's bloopers or, you know, somebody like technology, little errors come. That's how life is, right?
Yep.
When we're fixing things all the time, I like the confusion. I like that because it actually brings what our teas are. If any day life, you know, when you go to grandma's house, the phone rings, somebody rings the doorbell, another family member comes and visits, you know. So I want to give that to my viewers or my listeners out there. But when people come to Tea Time, they actually are not aware of the tea until they get there. And then during the conversation, they're sharing about their books, their work, their programs, their services. And then I'll slip in. It could be at the beginning of the show, the middle of the show, the end of the show. What is your tea? And then they'll be like, oh. So if I give you, what is your tea? What 3 words would you give me?
Okay. For me. Turbulence.
Ooh. Interesting. Don't think too hard, Ram. Just let it flow.
Yeah, I know. I'm just
An E word that eats at you, like anything that is coming to you.
Elevate.
Because
Elevate. And allow.
Okay. Now we're gonna take your tea and we're gonna spill it.
Okay.
And this is how we're gonna spill your tea. So you gave me turbulence. The tea is the past. So what does turbulence mean to you from the past?
Well, like the past 3 years have been really brutal. Oh, I love how the doctor is in. Thank you. This is great. Okay. So the past 3 years have been fucking terrible. Actually, fucking terrible starts with T in my head. No, they've been really, really tough. And so, yeah, basically the sort of political, economic, work, all that stuff has been really turbulent.
So that was your past. So you said the 3 years. So there's a reason for you for 3, because at the age of 3, something happened to you that caused turbulence in your life as well. Now, I'm not a psychic or anything for anybody that's listening to this. I'm not a psychic. My grandma gave me this, and it does work. It's the theory and the metaphor of life. It's the time travel of where we go in life. So we need our past, we need our present, and we need our future. It's time travel. So if you watch Back to the Future, if you go back and you screw up the past and you come back to the future, it's not the same, is it?
Right.
So you can't go back and change the past. Because if you change the past, it changes who you are as an individual.
Of course, of course.
But you said 3 years. So the age of 3, something turbulence in your past confused you. There was commotion. So maybe it was a move or something, in your life.
I didn't speak, which is, I think, some people who don't know me, when they do find this out, they're like, "What?" It's like I was mute until the age of 3 because I didn't speak at all. Everybody says, "Yeah, you're catching up now." But it's like, dude, I'm 50s, or I like to talk for sure. So I think back then, I think it was pretty normal. Surrounded by language. I was confused by language, and I was figuring it all out. But then I finally started talking at the age of 3.
See, and I didn't know I've never even talked to you before today. So.
We just met. Yeah, I love it.
Right? A lot of people are like, how does she know this stuff? I don't. I just pay attention to the detail. Yeah. You said the age of 3 years. So I asked you about your past. So as your past as a little kid. So I knew that you were going back to the age of 3 as a child. That's why I said 3 years old. Now you said elevate for your present. So something in your present, right now, in your present moment, something is elevating you. Is it a podcast? Is it a job? Is it?
Sure. Sorry. Elevate for sure. Definitely podcast. They'll definitely. But that's been a thing of my life, right? It's about. It's funny how you turned the tables. Very good.
I know, right? And it happens like this all the time. I don't know. It's my Oma in the back. She's in here and she's making me do this. I don't know.
Yeah, such a Jedi. Okay, elevate. Yeah, elevate for sure. Like, look, I think my whole life has been either elevating the people around me, elevating through the podcast, through the work that I do. Very much about that. Very much.
And you've done a lot of human rights things as well. So you're elevating change. See, in the present. And you're using your podcast. You're using your voice. So you're elevating. Yep. It's like an elevator. You're going up. Right?
Yeah.
That's your present. So now your future. Your future could be tomorrow. Because future changes anytime, right?
Sure.
You said allow. So what are you allowing for the future?
Possibility. For sure. For sure. In a way, that is definitely the spirit of the podcast, the spirit of who I am as a person, in terms of optimism, in terms of forward thinking and all this stuff. And then notice how I will turn this around ever so slightly and say, what is the possibility and the sort of the allow part of my life that you connect with? In terms of how you work, in terms of your podcast. Because when you're creating, like, we just had a moment, you and I. And you've had these moments with all these people. So how does that fulfill a deeper need inside you then?
For me, it's like an opening. Some people call it psychic, fortune telling, opening doors, and like you said, possibilities, opportunities. Why are we connected tonight? The opportunity of sharing each other's podcasts, the opportunity of growing together. That's the allowing your door to be open for me to sit with you.
Yes.
You're allowing me to share my tea. You're allowing me to express. And you're also allowing yourself to learn.
Yep.
So that you can serve the tea, because I can't do this alone, guys. For all the listeners out there, I can't do this. We all have to serve tea together. That's how we bring humanity together. That's how becoming a tea ambassador. There's no fancy badge or anything. You just serve you. You just serve what comes to you. I can't tell you what your tea is, Ram. You told me what your tea was. I can't say, well, Ram, your transformation, empowerment, action, attitude. I could tell you those words, but you'd be like, that's not me. That's not what I do. So it's like telling somebody who they are, right? We can't tell people who we are.
That is absolutely powerful. Now, can you, from the medicine cabinet behind your head, not that there is one, but if there were one, or the album, or whatever you want to call it, can you pull or remember a moment where you shared this with somebody that, because that's the whole thing about possibility. Like suddenly somebody opens a door that reveals something just like you would have never have expected. Sort of like in our conversation now. I would have never have expected that this was where we'd end up. Can you think of a time where it just, because we learn from one another, where you really learn something profound, like a deep, deep wisdom?
Would be my 97-year-old grandma, who's still alive,
Oh, wow.
who always wants to hear about my tea, my guests. And then she'll give me little tidbits. She doesn't even watch it. She can barely hear. We always argue about hearing aids because I have hearing aids. And she makes me look deeper. She always asks me, well, why do you think you had those guests on this week? And I'll be like, I don't know, Grandma, because those are the three that I signed on, like, you know. But she's like, Liz, look at it deeper. And this is a different grandma. This is on my dad's side. So this is not my Oma. This is another elder telling me to look deeper. I'm always told to look deeper and to understand the dots. And that's why I connect the dots with, okay, I'm aligned here. Like when I found your podcast, I was like, oh, yeah. I was like, my Oma was like, get going. Like, what are you doing? Like, and a lot of people will say, Miss Liz, like, you reach out to anybody. And I'm like, no, my Oma, she kind of like, get going.
Nice.
Like,
nice. Okay. Well, I think that's a really good segue, cliffhanger. Maybe a cliffhanger. What's a perfect step to the last photo? Are you down? You good?
I'm down because I don't even remember what I sent.
So this photo has you're wearing a hat, and it has these beautiful, almost pheasant feathers, or peahen. I don't know why I know that's a peahen, but I'd guess maybe a peahen feathers. It's a really nice hat. I don't even know what it's called. Your hair is dyed a nice plum. You're wearing glasses. The light is soft. You have it's very Canadian because you've got like sort of, it's not like, it doesn't look like it's sunny outside or summer outside. So you've got like a nice blouse and like a kind of it's nicely blurred. The background you can see a Canadian flag, the hints of it. It's got red and blue. You have nice eye makeup. What is this all about?
That was probably during a conference for a Peace Ambassador event that we had. We did a music event for Peace Day. International Peace Day is on September 21st for anybody that would like to know more about that. There's music events around the globe. People are celebrating peace, bringing people uniting. And I was always with the Peace Ambassador in the back, the Canada flag. So you see that in the blur, probably the Canadian flag. The hat is just people like me wearing hats. I have a bunch of hats in that corner over there. So I have different hats from my tea parties and tea events that I've done. And I love feathers. Feathers for me represent angels. And I'm very guarded with a lot of angels, even angels that I don't know of. I feel them around me. I feel that's why I'm connected to a lot of older guests come to my platform. My youngest was 12 years old and my oldest guest was 91.
Okay, so why don't you talk about these peace conferences? Because that is so outside my experience. What does that look like?
Well, that was really weird how that happened. I was just doing my tea parties and that, and I met a woman. She met me on Facebook. We still don't even know how she finds all of us people, but she does. And she's in Israel, Galit Grosser. She does the I Love Me project. And she's seen that I was doing Sacred Hearts Rising, a bunch of anthology books that I've been a part of as well. And I shared my story. And she's like, Liz, we want to nominate you as a peace ambassador. And I said, well, I don't know. I have my mood swings. I'm up, down. I'm all over the place. Like, yeah, I want love. I want peace. But I do have my days where I'm just like, there's a little shit going on here, like
you're like me alone.
Right? And I was like, like on my bad days, I'm not very good peace ambassador to listen to. But a lot of people, when they hear my story and they see where I came from and where I am today, they get inspired because they're like, Liz, where do you get all this resilience? Like, where do you get the tenacity to keep pushing? And I said, I don't know. I honestly think it's my Oma that's always with me, just pushing me and keeping me strong and moving. And the Peace Ambassador program, it started with a man who wanted to bring people together in his living room. He
Hmm.
sat in his living room and he knew somebody from the Peace Abbey in Vermont, and he just started reaching out to different people, and we all became different peace ambassadors for different countries. Canada had three of them. I'm one of them. We had another one in Toronto, Shireen Afis from India, who lives in Toronto. She was one of the Canadian peace ambassadors.
Hmm.
There's Sharan from BC. He was also a peace ambassador for Canada. So there was three of us. There was a couple for the United States. There was India, Pakistan, Nigeria, Tobago. There were so many. Israel, Switzerland, uh,
Hmm.
Haiti. There was 60 different countries, and we just came together every Friday, and we just kind of worked together. Like, what can we help you with? A lot of us have projects and programs that were peace related or humanitarian based.
Oh wow!
Uh, so we would just help support each other, and then we put a music program together that was 3.5 hours long, I think, in 2020. It was a long, but we had different
Wow!
schools, we had children's choirs in there, we had different countries in there, um, all different kind of genre of music, and we had people singing peace. It was nice, and I think that's what we need in today's world is we need people coming together, being different, being unique, being confused, and well, how do I
Yeah.
help? How do I do this? Right? It's sad the program only lasted 1 year, but I stay in contact with 99% of the ambassadors. I'm just like, hey, if you need anything, I'm here. Just because it's done, we can still stay together.
Hmm. I've had many. Authors like to talk because authors want to share their stories, so they like to talk about their books. How many books have you written?
Four for Sacred Hearts Rising. So book one, two, three, and four, the whole series of Sacred Hearts Rising. That's an anthology collection. Then I wrote in Unstoppable Gems. That's another anthology collection. Then I wrote in Fears and Triumphs, COVID Story 19 with 50 other
Oh.
women from different countries. That's another anthology that I wrote with, which Carol Azam, who does that. I have another anthology that's coming out, supposed to be this year, Invisible Soul, that was compiled by Constant Willard. And then I wrote my three
Hmm.
books. And I'm working on another set of books that are going to be out for Christmas if everything goes good.
And the people who are super inspired by you, which book should they read first?
I highly recommend the tea books. Not because they are, but it's all Miss Liz in this book.
Well, I highly recommend them too.
And they're fun facts. Like it's not like a story, Ram. It's a story with self-help exercises, some fun facts, there's
Oh.
recipes, and I take you to three different countries that all start with the letter TEA. So I take you to Turkey, England, and Australia. So you get to know a little bit
Mm.
about those countries and fun facts that you might have not known. And they're not tea related. So people are like, "Okay, she didn't give us a tea. Why didn't she tell us?" Uh-uh. I'm giving you education. Like in the second book, I have the guy who invented or created in 1796, I believe it is, and he created the educational system. So yeah, so it
Yep.
just gives you the information, right? Because a lot of people are just like, we don't need history. Yeah, you do need history because history repeats.
Coming to you from Cornwall, no less.
Yep. Just a little northern girl who wants to make a difference with tea, guys. So
I love it. I love it. So okay, so let's like because one of my thing is I like to okay, this is very photographic in a sense, like zooming in, getting a nice sort of sense of the person, zooming out, getting another sense of them. In terms of as a service of what you're doing to the world, to other people around you, you're saying, okay, look, this here is a tool, is a thing you can use that you can improve your own life, you can find a meaning, you can find a path. It's very other-centric. So, is there a question? I guess the question is, how good are you at being selfish?
Oh.
you, you should see your face. You're like, what?
No, I even just to self-care myself, I'm like, I'd rather take care of somebody else than myself. But over the years, I've realized that in order for me to serve a good cup of tea, I have to take care of myself too. So, and a lot of people think that self-care is selfish, and it's not. Growing up, I thought it was selfish, but it's not. And we all have a little selfish in us. We all want a little more. We all want, that extra candy or that extra cookie. It's in all of us.
Sure.
So, but selfish, I don't know about selfish.
It's funny. It's funny. It's interesting to see. Like for me, it's just a question, and then it's interesting to see how your face and your body are reacting to that question. Because I think you're so other-centric, and you're so. How many siblings do you have?
I have 2 sisters and 2 brothers.
Okay, so a relatively large family. Okay, and as the eldest, you're like, to a certain degree, you have to shoulder a bit of the responsibility. And then, in terms of how you're putting your energy into the world through these books and this effort, how do you understand what it is to give service to others?
I never knew how to do it. I just did what my body, whatever was inside of me, my inner child or my Oma, or that was just saying be different.
Mm-hmm.
So like a lot of people, when people come on my podcast, I ask them, give me one word to describe yourself, and so they'll give me like beautiful, unique, special. For me, it's different. I'm different.
Mm-hmm.
I serve different. I am different. I'm not scared to show that I'm different, that I'm confusing at times, that, my mind goes and wanders. There's so many different colors in there. Like when you describe a medicine cabinet, all of a sudden my brain is starting to picture, okay, if I put a medicine cabinet in behind me,
Mm-hmm.
I wonder what kind of message that would give. My mind doesn't stop. It just keeps going all the time.
Do you do you do, because there's a bit of pottery behind you. I think it's pottery. Is that a collection, or is this stuff that you've done? Like, how do you put your creative spirit into tangible? I mean, podcasts are intangible. We're recording, but how do you put your creativity into something like material?
Well, you're actually sitting in my tea room. So all of those potteries are teapots. And they were given to me by somebody. I was on the radio show a couple of years ago that they had in Cornwall. And when I was on it, they were like, Liz, like you were a mouse. You were like, hey, can I say it? Can I whisper? Can I talk? And now they're like, who in the heck are you, girl? Like, you're just like, woof. And I'm like, I just found my voice, and they gave me that voice. And her grandma passed, and her grandma had all these teapots, and she didn't want them anymore. There was so much. She actually gave me 106 teapots.
Oh, wow.
So there's 106 teapots all on that wall. Plus, then I have my blue set here. Plus, I have another set of teacups here. This room alone has over 500 teacups in it. You don't see it?
No, okay. I have to interrupt. I'm sorry. I just have to interrupt. I'm a shit host. I'm very sorry. I'm so excited. No, it's not that I'm excited. I have to interrupt to kind of not even insult you, but just to say you're a bit of a kook. Like here's this woman in this room with these teapots, sharing the love, giving out into the world this sort of perspective. Like it's astounding because it's so unique. Like it's really yeah. When I say kook, it's a total
No, that's okay. You know what? I have crazy papers, so you can call me crazy. I have official papers. So, like I said, I like confusion. I've been through a lot, and there's trauma up there. There's so much up there. I like that you said kook. I wasn't insulted or anything. For all the listeners out there, Miss Liz likes when people call me kook, crazy, fruitcake.
Well, you've got 150 plus teapots behind you. This is your gang. I love it.
150 teapots on that side, and another, I think, 36 on this side.
Nice. Okay, so let's wrap this up then. Okay, because we've gone through your 4 photos. We've learned about tea, and I absolutely adore I like seriously, you've made my week. Like this has been really interesting. Any bits of wisdom and knowledge and insight to get somebody fired up to go to discover their tea? Like how do we put that kind of call to action or that charge in somebody who's listening?
Well, for all the listeners out there, I want you to sit at the table with anybody that's in your house or on a phone and ask people, what is your tea? Just get conversation going with 3 words and see where those 3 words actually take you. It might take you on a real transformation. It might take you on an opportunity, possibilities. It might even take you on a job career. You just never know because, you might be an accountant and that's not really what you want to do, but you want to do trading, but you don't like the accounting part, the budgeting, but you want to trade. So, you give those words out. You just use the 3 words. Let's keep it simple. Let's just spill a good, strong cup of tea and let's get conversation going in your homes, in your communities, in your events. When you're having a conversation and you go to a convention or something and you have nothing to talk about, you're in this room with a bunch of strangers, just look at them and say, hey, what's your tea?
Nice.
Did you just ask me for a tea? And then kind of get into the conversation. No, give me 3 words.
Right.
I just met you. And you actually would get to know people because you can actually know a lot about people. I know a lot about you, Ram, by the 3 words you gave me.
Yep.
You actually gave me your story in 3 words. The turbulence, elevate, and allow. You gave me your life story in 3 words. That's how simple it is. That's what I want to do is I want to get into the schools. I want to get into the services, the businesses. Anybody that would like to sit and serve tea with Miss Liz, I'm here for you. Let's get your people in your communities talking. We need open conversation. We don't talk enough. We text. Stop texting. Talk. Get people to say those words. Speak it, because when we speak it to the universe, it actually happens. We actually do transform.
Elizabeth, Liz, love it. Love it. Thank you so much. This has been great. This has been really great.
Well, I really appreciated the opportunity, because sometimes we have to sit at a different table in order for people to understand what we're serving to.
Shooting it raw?
Yes. Shooting it raw.